All right, everybody, welcome to the walkthrough. I am your host, Anthony Marino, and we are the newest show as part of the Overreaction Sports Network, sponsored by FanDuel, and so happy to be here with all of you. If you hadn't heard yet, again, this is the newest show as part of the Overreaction Sports Network, and I'm so happy to be here with all of you. Each and every week, we'll come and kind of sit down, grab a cup of coffee with you, talk a little bit about the Bills and what we're looking forward to in that week's game. Sunday night, the Bills will be in Chicago to take on the Bears. 8 p.m. kickoff Eastern time is part of preseason game number 2. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about that today, some of the things that I'm looking forward to in this matchup, knowing that it's just the preseason. But, you know, just like for the Buffalo Bills, where the preseason is underway, this is preseason for me too with the walkthrough, work out some of the kinks, kind of get started, have you get to know me a little bit. And as we get going, looking forward to another great season of Buffalo Bills football. First and foremost, so happy to be here. Joe Miller, John Fina, Jerry Ostrowski, for these guys to welcome me to the team here at the Overreaction Sports Network. That means the world to me, and I'm happy to be here with you each and every week. When you get a chance, of course, make sure you comment here. If you're on YouTube, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. The more that you do that, it's the more people that we're able to reach each and every week as we talk about the Buffalo Bills, and we know that you love all the great content that is here on the Overreaction Sports Network. So listen, we are going to get into this. There's kind of 4 things that I'm really looking forward to when it comes to this Sunday night matchup. You probably saw a lot of the coverage. The Bills are already in Chicago, had a joint practice on Friday for 2.5 hours in the sweltering heat. A lot of kind of, good nuggets that have been in the news over the past 24 hours or so as it relates to that. And by all intents and purposes, it seems like it was a productive trip for the Bills. So listen, I want to talk to you about Sunday night. I want to talk to you about this game and what we can look forward to. But first off, too, I want to talk to you about our friends at ZipRecruiter. Getting hired for a new job can sometimes be difficult. Coming here to the Overreaction Sports Network, it was pretty easy. Got a call from Joe Miller and I'm here, but we know that's not always the case, right? So when you do this, you work with ZipRecruiter, and that can certainly make things easier for you when it comes to hiring. So listen, ZipRecruiter finds amazing candidates for you fast. And right now you can try it for free at ziprecruiter.com/audio. They've got this smart technology that makes it easier to match up the top candidates for the jobs that you're posting. And that's something that can happen very quickly for you. So ditch the other hiring sites and let ZipRecruiter find what you're looking for, the needle in the haystack. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try it for free at this exclusive web address, ziprecruiter.com/audio. Again, that's ziprecruiter.com/audio. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. So listen, now let's get into the football, right? 4 things I'm really looking at, and I'm recording this on Saturday morning. No official word yet if the Bills will be playing their starters, how much they will or won't be playing. Sean McDermott, at least in his comments on Friday, kind of danced around this a little bit. I did put a poll up on Twitter earlier in the week asking Bills fans, do you want to see Josh Allen play on Sunday night? And usually I expect there to be more of a positive response, right? I think as fans, anytime you see number 17 kind of suit up and on the field, whether it's regular season, playoffs, even the preseason, seeing Josh Allen in action is something from an entertainment standpoint that we all enjoy. But in this situation, it was a little bit different. Almost 90% of the responses said, no, I don't need to see Josh Allen play in preseason week 2. I find myself in that same boat, right? Like, listen, you work through training camp and practices, obviously this joint practice that took place on Friday. I don't know that I necessarily need to see number 17 suit up, or Deion Dawkins or Spencer Brown or Matt Milano or, anyone else that you would think is kind of an invaluable piece to the Buffalo Bills that you just don't want to see get nicked up or kind of deal with anything as we get that much closer to week 1 and taking on the Baltimore Ravens on Sunday Night Football. So for me, there has not been an official word yet. Maybe by the time you listen to this, there will be kind of some word out there from Sean McDermott. But how much are we going to see the starters play, if at all? Maybe a quarter. I would have to kind of guess that. And I'm not even sure if we'll see Josh Allen take the field. So more to come there. And I'll be curious to get your thoughts too, right? You can hit me up here in the comments on YouTube. You can also reach out to me on Twitter at Anthony Marino and let me know. Do you want to see the starters play, or do you kind of have more of that Sean McVay mindset, right? With the Rams, he just doesn't look to play any of his starters in any of those games. And sometimes for me, I think I find myself in that same bucket. I don't know. Maybe as I get a little older, I'm a little bit more conservative and just not wanting anyone to be in harm's way in any way, shape, or form. But that is certainly something that we will see on Sunday night. Now, kind of getting into some of the details, something I'm really curious about, and it's been a big talking point so much throughout the offseason, after the draft, and then after that first preseason game, is how these rookie defensive linemen will continue to play. I was with Joe Miller on his show, Overreaction Sports, last week, and we were talking a little bit about what you look for in the preseason. And to me, it's usually the rookies, right? It's that first time to see them wearing a Buffalo Bills uniform, see what they bring to the table, how they look. And these guys were, kind of 3 of the focal points after that first preseason game with the New York Giants. So to me, right, TJ Sanders obviously flashed in that game. 2nd round pick, the Bills trade up for him. To me, I think he's the most important rookie on the roster right now, especially because of the suspension that Larry Ogunjobi will have over these first 6 weeks. So I look at TJ Sanders, right, and you see those flashes against the Giants. You see him getting some pressure. You hear reports that he's, providing pressure, being a little bit of a menace in that joint practice on Friday. So to me, that's a guy that I'm definitely going to keep an eye on, and I'm looking forward to seeing what he brings on Sunday. The other is Deion Walker. And again, I talked with Joe about this before. I did not love this draft pick when it took place, right? There was definitely a narrative out there that just kind of a sloppy prospect. But then more and more word came out about the injuries that he had battled through. And more came out about what he looked like during the 2023 season at Kentucky. So then I'm thinking to myself, okay, let's not jump to any conclusions. We've seen draft picks that you didn't love in the past, like Dorian Williams, who's certainly come around. Terrell Bernard was another one, right, that many were kind of scratching their head as he was a 3rd round pick. And certainly we see how integral he is to the Buffalo Bills defense at this point. Then the reports start to come out of training camp. Hey, Deion Walker, this guy's pretty athletic. He's pretty big. He kind of brings something to the Buffalo Bills defensive line that they don't really have. And then you start to see him flashing more in training camp, and you see him batting down passes and flashing during that first preseason game. So you think to yourself, okay, rookie 4th round draft pick. Here's somebody that's going to come in, and let's see how he can continue to grow. When you got Daquan Jones and TJ Sanders and Larry Ogunjobi and Ed Oliver, you probably don't need to rush him too much. But if he's able to flash and maybe play 20% of the snaps this season and give you something that, is part of that rotation that can help get some penetration up the middle on the offensive line and really, again, batting down some of those passes, that's a component the Bills really have not had at defensive tackle. And when you talk about Daquan Jones, listen, he's on the wrong side of 30. I still expect good things from him this year. I love what he's brought to the Buffalo Bills, but you need that succession plan, right? And when you look at someone like TJ Sanders, that's got some flexibility between the 1 tech and the 3 tech, same with Deion Walker, you can see that rotation start to expand. And again, you talk about Larry Ogunjobi, right? 6-game suspension, 1-year contract. It won't be until week 8 until we see him. So it's going to give these 2 young defensive tackles really an opportunity to shine. And that's why I want to kind of keep an eye on them on Sunday night. I mean, I know I'm saying here, listen, if you don't want to play anybody that's going to be a major contributor for you, I'm fine with that. I kind of throw that out a little bit when it comes to the rookies. You want them to work through those butterflies, kind of, get used to what it is as far as just suiting up with the team, what that pregame routine looks like. The veterans, I'm not as concerned with that about, but with the rookies, yeah, they probably need to go through that. So for Sanders and Walker, I want to see a continuation of what they did last week. You know, that third rookie defensive lineman, Landon Jackson, it's interesting. And I try not to go on social media too much because sometimes the negativity can just pile up more than you need it to. And Landon Jackson, you know, he seemed to struggle a bit last week in that first preseason game with the Giants. And that's okay. You know, it's a third round pick coming out to play here, a defensive end, probably got some butterflies in his stomach, kind of just, making the transition to the NFL. And this is a pick that we were all very excited about when it took place. I mean, you'd see different experts talk about him potentially sneaking into the first round or the second round, but that is all come and gone. I mean, it's a third round pick. There's going to be some time that is needed, some development that is needed. So a little bit of hostility out there after last week. I mean, even some people I see, again, I'm talking about comments online, so take it all with a grain of salt, like calling the guy a bust, like talking about one preseason game. What are we doing here? So, I look at Landon Jackson as someone, I look for him to have a better performance against the Bears on Sunday night, kind of build that confidence, maybe get some of the butterflies out of the way. Looking at the reports from Sal Capaccio and John Scott from Friday's joint practice, it sounded like Landon Jackson was getting some good pressure in the backfield on Caleb Williams, the quarterback for the Chicago Bears. So to me, it's like, all right, that's a step in the right direction. I'm going to go with this. I like this. I like where this is heading. And I think for Landon Jackson, myself, I'm sure all of you will be keeping an eye on him during this Sunday night matchup. All right, moving on. Elijah Moore. And if you follow any of my work at Buffalo Rumblings, I had an article, I had a different poll that went out talking about Moore and kind of the expectations for Bills fans. And heading into training camp, they were certainly off the charts. I had like a couple thousand people respond to a poll that we did, and like 80% of them are expecting Elijah Moore to produce at the same level or higher than he did last season with the Browns. So, I mean, that's talking about an excess of 60 receptions and about 600 yards. Now, when you come to Buffalo, that would have had him be the number 2 wide receiver, statistically speaking, on last year's team. You've got the everything eats mentality. And here this guy comes in again. Love the skill set. Love what he brings to the table. Love that it's a signing that Brandon Beane and the Buffalo Bills made. But, when you get signed after the draft to basically a 1-year, $2.5 million deal, for me personally, the expectations need to be in check just a little bit. And I think those expectations came crashing down a bit. It was a relatively quiet training camp for him. Week 1 of the preseason was relatively quiet. I know there was, one opportunity where I think it was Mitch Trubisky just totally didn't see him 15 yards down the field wide open. And I'm trying not to put too much into the preseason, right? Don't overreact about the preseason. And I get it. I'm on the Overreaction Sports Network. Am I supposed to overreact to everything? Like, no, I kind of try to stay as even keel as I possibly can. But I felt like those expectations for him early on were just way, way, way too much. And then you get the reports out of the joint practice on Friday and Elijah Moore playing more with Josh Allen, and Allen hitting him on multiple occasions. And by all of these reports, Elijah Moore had a really good day. And you start to look at this and, maybe it's like, well, with Khalil Shakir still nursing his injury and going to be out for another couple of weeks, that gives Moore an opportunity to work out of the slot. I don't know where he was lined up. I don't know of any of those pieces, but it was evident on Friday. Great rapport with Josh Allen on the day and some great results. Even a real productive screen pass, which is something that I'm always kind of shaking my head. How is it the Buffalo Bills offense cannot get this right? Maybe Elijah Moore becomes that guy for them. So I'm not saying that I need to see great production in a preseason game from him, but I'm just curious if based on Friday's practice, how well things went, again, kind of that connectivity that he has with Josh Allen, let's see where this can go. Because listen, maybe he's that 4th receiver, that 5th wide receiver. A lot of conversation out there about Tyrell Shavers and what he's able to do on special teams. Curtis Samuel working his way back, but again, another frustrating training camp and off season for him, kind of getting ready, kind of has a lot of folks sort of scratching their head. Like, is this going to be a another lost season, for lack of a better term. Not that last year was a lost season. He certainly produced later on, but I think the expectations when he signed that 3-year contract and what has taken place so far, the injuries have certainly hampered him, and that has just been a tough piece. So, I get it, but Elijah Moore, okay, like there's definitely been a dip in those expectations after the past few weeks, and then you get that spike. Things kind of shoot up on Friday, and it's like, all right, if he starts playing with Josh Allen, starts to get a little bit of that momentum going here, I think it could be pretty exciting. So one more thing I'm going to keep an eye on, and again, right, kind of in the spirit of not looking past someone that's battled through some injuries yet. But, the Cole Bishop situation has also been a little bit frustrating as he's worked through injuries. 2nd round draft pick, should be a starting safety on the team. Sounds like he, practiced in full with the Chicago Bears on Friday. But I really liked what I saw from 5th round pick Jordan Hancock out of Ohio State last week against the Giants. And I want to see more. And I say that, you try not to make the comparison. And I think for us as Bills fans, it's easy to be like, well, is he the next Christian Benford to Kaiir Elam type of scenario? But right, like, hey, a 2nd round pick is a big investment that's taken place. And for Cole Bishop, like, we hope to see him take that step and that this conversation just gets put to bed. But if Jordan Hancock as a 5th round pick is someone that now he's just really playing at safety all throughout training camp, talked about, well, is he going to play the nickel? Is he going to play safety? Is he going to play both? It sounds like he's been working exclusively at safety. And at least from what we saw last Saturday, I'm intrigued. As a 5th round pick, I expect him to make the 53-man roster. But one of those things, and I'm not talking about him pushing for a starting job or any of those things right now, but let's just say I'm intrigued, right? You love these day 3 picks that all of a sudden hit, that can be seen as a steal. Khalil Shakir, who we talked about before, previously Gabe Davis is a 4th round pick. The expectations for Deion Walker, of course. And yeah, Christian Benford and others, right? You just look at it and you say, like, okay, is this a guy that can be more than just someone on the 53-man roster? I don't know, but I'm intrigued, right? If there's that one guy through training camp that it's like, all right, like I got my eye on you. I'm going to see kind of what's happening here. I mean, Jordan Hancock definitely fits that bill. And I'm excited to see what he can do, right? Like, you go through with this and it's just like, all right, there's some potential there. And yeah, you come out of a program like Ohio State, I can be excited. You come off a national championship, you're feeling good. You play on a stacked team. Like, yeah, definitely there's a lot of eyeballs on you, but now you get an opportunity to make that jump to the NFL. And at least by the early reports, he's done a pretty good job. So let's see where this can go. Kind of for him, I look at a guy like Cam Lewis in the same way out of University of Buffalo, and you got some really good depth on this roster. But Cole Bishop, get healthy, get out there, man. Let's see what you got, young fella, because this team needs you. It's like every time I talk about the safety position, I remind myself, it's like, gosh, we have all been so spoiled by Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer over the years. Like, Taylor Rapp doing a nice job. Damar Hamlin filled in admirably with what he's done. High promise with Cole Bishop. But when you got 2 guys that play at a Pro Bowl, all-pro type level each and every year, you're definitely a bit spoiled there. So let's see what can happen. So again, for me, the 4 things I'm really looking at, right? Like, how much, if at all, will we see from the starters, those rookie defensive linemen? Can we see Sanders and Walker continue to flash, and can Landon Jackson, kind of have that first flash for himself, right? To kind of work through things and get heading in the direction where we know that he can. Elijah Moore, can he continue with some of that progress and be the player that we all hope that he will be? And of course, Jordan Hancock, as we just talked about, the 5th round pick out of Ohio State. Let's see what he's got. All right, Bills Mafia. Well, listen, here's the deal. Like I said before, hit that like button, subscribe, comment, all that you can. We appreciate it. As part of the Overreaction Sports Network, I appreciate you tuning in. I'll be here with you each and every week. Appreciate, again, Joe, John, Jerry. Thank you guys for having me. Bills Mafia, thank you for watching. Thanks for listening. Talk to you soon, and go Bills.